Welcome to the Give Back Lab. I'm your host, Daniella Grande. You've entered a space where bold voices, real stories, and unfiltered conversations come to life. Here in the lab, we're breaking bias, shifting thinking, and exploring the power of giving back through truth, vulnerability, and diverse perspectives. We celebrate diversity of thought and everything beautiful that makes us human. This isn't just talk, it's real, it's raw, and it's exactly the kind of space we need. We're unlearning, relearning, and evolving together. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at the Give Back Lab. Today, it's my honor to welcome our guest, Pankaj Chawla, who's here with us today to talk about the amazing work he does with small and medium-sized businesses, helping them to scale faster and grow. And in this market, in these times, ever-changing times of technology and business and who needs what when, this is a very opportune and exciting conversation. So thank you for joining us. So happy to have you.
Thank you, Daniella.
So tell us a little bit about who you are. What do you do? How did you get here? What's your journey? Give us some information and some insight.
Okay, sure. So I'm Pankaj Chawla, as you know. I work as business strategist for small and medium enterprises. What background I have is I have a corporate experience of little over 2 decades, working with brands like Barclays, Virgin Mobile, Airtel, and others. Now, in my journey, I've been a finance and a strategy. I've been in the finance and strategy roles always, working with CXOs to break down strategy into bite-sized pieces and getting it implemented to the team. What happened really is, while we are in the corporate boardrooms, we can really work with strategies and get them implemented. But what strikes is how is it that small and medium businesses sustain if they do not have a strategist by their side? Which happened to be the case when during COVID times, businesses started to fall down and close. Now, with that experience of seeing businesses getting closed, I realized that this is something that needs attention of someone and why it could not be me. So I left my job at Barclays, where I was vice president finance, and started working on what I can do for small and medium enterprises who could not afford a strategist like me on a full-time basis just because of budget constraints. Whereas companies like Barclays would get n number of Pankaj Chawlas whenever they want to, just because they have deep pockets. So I started to build on this business concept of how do I bring this strategy to the masses. And that's where we did the industry understanding of how and what functions well and what does not. With that analysis came the insight that this actually needs a thorough step-by-step process where you can give the consulting to the companies, have a team who could execute that, and then deliver it on the KPIs so that small and medium enterprises can also think long term. They can also look at their business 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, which obviously the companies have. By this thought, we launched this organization called SME Strategy Consulting. It was micro, small, medium enterprises. Just to share with the audience, micro, small, medium enterprises is a term coined by United Nations General Assembly. This is to recognize the contribution of small and medium enterprises in the respective economy's GDP, which ranges from 30 to 50% of the total GDP. And in order to really celebrate that, there is an International MSME Day, which is on 27th of June every year. So in normal parlance, we call it small and medium enterprises, but that's how United Nations General Assembly call it. So yes, so that's how I've reached here, Daniela. I hope this clarifies.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love it. So and it brings up so many questions, right? And I can identify with this because in my shift from corporate into fractional, Right. So do you consider yourself fractionals, like fractional business strategists that work, you come in, you roll up your sleeves, you're part of it? Or do you consider yourself more of an advisory consulting kind of organization? Because I see them very differently, right? I see fractional as literally skin in the game, working side by side. You know, you may even, I have some clients where I manage some people for them. So I is it consulting advisory, or is it more in that fractional embedded space?
So it is fractional embedded space because without the fractional skin in the game space, the strategy may remain just on a piece of paper for small and medium enterprises for two reasons. One, the owners of the small businesses will not have time themselves to get into the strategy and execute it. B, they will not have resources enough who could think strategy like strategy and then execute it for them. So they will struggle. And if even if they get an executionist by their side, there has to be someone guiding them regularly, which is not a profitable venture for them or not a profitable expense that they could do, which has a good ROI. So what we do is we come as a fractional team because full-time people will not be able to afford us. Fractional team comes in, we give them the strategy, we give them the team to execute it, and we deliver them on the KPIs that get defined right at the start of the design.
Right.
So it makes
Okay.
much more sense for them and they can see the real ROI of engaging with us.
So, can you share with us one or two like real examples of where a customer that you have was struggling, where you guys came in, how you executed, and where it is now, just for the audience to really understand in practicality, what does this look like?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. There is this one e-commerce merchant who sells on platforms like Amazon's and others of the world, the product that they sell. Now they had this problem of not having to get enough profitability in their business and always struggling for money. When they came to me with this problem, my first thought really was, why would you struggle with money for a business which is majorly cash driven, right? Someone would shop on Amazon and pay upfront, right? And you get
Right.
maybe in a day or two in your bank account. So we started to understand what is their business, what is that they do, how is it that their operations are mapped. And we figured out the problem was not cash that they had in the bank account. Problem was the operations and the way they manage the operations. There was a lot of slack. There was a lot of wastage. The inventory process was not fine. The the way in which the sales should be recorded, orders should be fulfilled, the way the payments have to be made to the vendors for the purchases that they do, everything was just happening by the experience and the way someone in their team members would think it should happen. Now that's where the problem lies. So we sat with them, we did the entire diagnosis, which is where this came out from. And we said that we need to fix two, three things for you. One is how do you purchase? How do you store, which is just inventory warehousing? How do you sell and your collection times and payment times? So we divided this assignment into three, four parts and we gave them this strategy for each one of the items which are critical. And we said, now here is the laid out strategy. Do you want to implement it yourself or you want us to implement? Because they had loads on their plate with the good giant player in e-commerce. They said, okay, we want you to do it. So we had a team sit with them, understand what they have been doing. We started documenting each and every step that people perform, map it on a piece of paper and tell them that these are the non-value add steps that you do in each of the stages. And if you could eliminate the non-value adds, the entire process becomes efficient.
Right.
So then we had team members going there, mapping that down, helping them eliminate each of the steps, getting things done from them over a period of 4 weeks so that they imbibe it and they put it into practice in day-to-day life. And when we observed that over a period of 3 months, we realized that their efficiencies increased by 30%. Now, a 30% increase in efficiency has a multiplier effect on increase in revenue and the profitability. So eventually they had a profitability increase of 45%. And then it gave them scale to now grow faster. We've been working with them for last 2.5 years. Initial 6 months, they achieved this. Now they are 7x of the revenues that they had when they started.
Wow.
So, it's a journey which starts from a piece of paper, which is strategy, having discussions, brainstorming, diagnosis, and then delivering, and then making sure that you give them the value that they want.
Thank you for sharing that. I want to understand, when you work with these companies, with your clients, do you find that the reason and the value add to bring you in is because they can't self-serve, right? Why are they not doing it within, aside from having resources to focus on this, right? But from a management thinking, diversity of thought perspective, where is it that you feel that you guys are coming in and adding the value beyond the work?
Yeah, yeah. So, what happens is all of these entrepreneurs, owners of small medium enterprises, they are so engrossed in their day-to-day lives, business lives, and personal lives that they cannot see their business from distance. Because they are into it, they actually end up working in the business and not on the business. If you work in the business, then you just make sure that things don't fall off the cracks. You make sure that the operations just continue. When it is only when you work on the business, you see that yes, my business is stagnant, it is growing, it is not growing, what's happening wrong, what's happening right. So that's the perspective we bring in. And at the end of the day, we are all human beings, right? We think emotionally first and business second. But while you think emotions and you think business, it is very important to, you know, make a path which amalgamates the two so that it's a win-win for you, for your employees, for your vendors, for your customers, because everyone around us is human being, male or female, right? So we bring the perspective which makes that equation win-win. Like, for example, one of the entrepreneurs I met, he said, Pankaj, I am running this organization for good 40 years. Average life of my employee in the organization is 15 years. So they've been very, very committed and loyal to the organization. But I am seeing that I'm not going beyond a number. So I want to grow there. How is it that you could help me? And I said, while I respect the loyalty part of the employees, which is very important, but are you giving them the tasks or the role which is challenging enough for them to go to the next level?
Right.
They are doing the same role for the last 15 years, all their life. If they have
Yeah.
been doing this, they have been loyal to you, but they're not contributing to their own growth, which means they will not be able to think beyond what they have been doing all their life. Now,
Right.
we have to change this equation. It is not that you are going beyond your aspirations or you are doing something wrong to the employee by asking to do more. You are just giving him an opportunity to outgrow his own limitations or her own limitations by challenging yourself and the other person go out of the comfort zone. And when they start to think about it like that, then they start saying, okay, yes, now I understand why my human resources department was in a problem or my sales was in a problem because I had never challenged them. Because I kept them comfort zone, they are working in their comfort zone, and my organization is stagnant.
Right.
Then we deliver this strategy of taking the entire organization together to the next level, not only the owner of the business. It is not that the turnover has to go 2x or 5x or 10x. It is the employees who are loyal to the organization who are there working. Their growth will mean organization's growth. Because, see, at the end of the day, we look at organization as a function of people, resources, systems. And when I say systems, it's procedures, and then the tech side of it. So if you take the entire thing up, then the organization will uplift on its own. The matter is that what lies in the execution.
Right.
Right. If you
Right.
experiment well, it will deliver your results.
I absolutely agree. I say a lot to founders and CEOs of organizations in the same kind of small to mid-size. I find that the only time that growth or focused growth, we'll call it, is prevalent is when money is tight or something, right? And then there happens to be a great sale or an abundance of money or some funding that came in, and suddenly that top level, the CEO, the founder, whatever's appropriate for this business, and they all have different names, suddenly there's an influx of money. And so what happens is those 3, 4, 5 things that they've been mulling around on in their brain on how to drive the business forward, they want to do it all at once, right? And they end up burning a lot of cash. And a lot of the reason that they can't move business forward, I agree with you, is because we operate, the train is on the tracks and it's chugging just along and everything is fine, and that whole if it's not broken, don't fix it kind of mentality. But without uncomfortable and without challenge, you will be successful. You totally could be, but it affects velocity, it affects the amount of success, that level of success. So I understand exactly what you're doing. I do the same thing with my clients, right? I challenge them first to look inward, right? Let's look in and see what we're doing. Let's look at the other problem that I find, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, is technology. Sometimes people think, oh, bring in the technology, we'll buy the best in class technology, we'll bring that in. And I often say to them, okay, so now you have a Ferrari, but you really have a Hyundai engine in this beautiful Ferrari, because there is no way that you're going to take advantage of all of the features that this has. So you're paying expensive licensing costs, you're making systems and processes more complex. For what purpose? The beauty of saying that I have this Ferrari, or you have this Ferrari with a Ferrari engine in it, but you have no money to put gas in it to get it anywhere, right? So it's about having right size, right fit, but also what I love the work that you do is the strategy to grow to where you need to go, right? Just because this particular thing is right size, right fit today doesn't mean that I can't evolve with it or evolve to another thing, right? In technology, you can evolve and shift platforms strategically, if you
Absolutely.
know that, right, as you grow. I
Absolutely.
can use QuickBooks today and evolve to Salesforce in 5 years or 3 years, right? You can be very strategic. And so this is how you help your customers, right? You sit and you work with them and you say, here's where we are today. So
Yeah.
I understand that, because that's exactly what I do. I don't have a playbook. Do you have a playbook?
So I am not a believer of having playbooks and models in place because there is none which fits all. It's all
Yes.
individual problem statements that we address, and every individual problem statement is unique. So you have to have
Yes.
unique solutions to that.
Yes,
Like
I
for example,
agree.
like for
I
example,
agree. I love it. I love it. Um,
so
that's what I say all the time.
I am antithesis to the so to say models and playbooks for that matter.
Yes. I think that playbooks are just, and I came out of management consulting, right? So I understand the beauty and the prettiness and the whole lipstick on a pig, right? I believe that playbooks have a place in certain situations, but in reality, playbooks, I think, actually handcuff you in so many ways, because they put up they put up silos, they put up guardrails. It's the Bible, if you will, right? And I'll say, Pankaj, there's no way, because the playbook says, and I am trusting this process. There's no way we can do that this way. The playbook says that I will get to this point if I do these steps. So I'm just going to hammer through them. And yes, you may get to the top.
Yeah.
But instead of going over the rock, you may have sat there and chiseled a way to walk through it or around it, right? So the journey is so important.
Absolutely.
And do you find that your partners that you engage with in this business, these owners, these founders, do you find that it takes some convincing, or are they open to your suggestions? Do you find that they are so rooted in their vision
That's a
that
good
it
one.
becomes a difficult conversation?
Yeah. So that's a good one. There are challenges when you speak to them. It is difficult for them to come out of their comfort zones. And we've done this in management quite a lot, technically, practically. Change management is difficult. People are not by their very nature pro to change. You have to bring the change to them through strategic means and ways. And one of the best ways to bring that change is to show them the benefit you want to, and let them walk with you side by side, step by step, to make sure that that change is a reality for them. Otherwise, they generally are very averse to change. So what happens is, what we do is, we not only work with the owners, founders, CEOs, whatever you call, we work with their team members also. Because if the team does not accept change very well, founders' acceptance to change is not going to solve and not going to deliver results. So we do
Right.
workshops on change management. We talk about what the change is. We ensure that we have people on board with what change we are doing and why we are doing what we are doing and how it could benefit them, not anyone else. Like when you put in a technology, it is very important for each one of the people in the organization to understand that technology is a tool. It is not a replacement. It is like holding the knife. If you hold the knife the wrong way, then it will hurt your own self. So it is
Right.
better to know how to hold the knife so that you can execute that tool better for the advantage of your business. So the first thing that we do in any technology implementation is we tell them it's a tool, how it is a tool, how this tool should be used, and how this will benefit you in your roles. It is not going to replace you. It is going to equip you to do better, do more,
Yes.
add more value to the business. And that's how the
Right.
business will grow, and they will grow eventually together with the business. So that's the change that we bring in gradually by educating people. On your earlier example that you're giving, I had a analogy to share. I was having this conversation with one of my clients. He said, Pankaj, I've lost approximately $250K in his business. That's a loss he made. He said 250,000 is too much. And now, with that loss, I need to recover and come back stronger. And this is a approximately 18-month-old story. So first question he asked me, why, after looking at the business, why do you think I made this loss? I said, the first thing is that you had the money and you were experimenting. That's why you could make the loss. Now, this seems to be a very, very simple statement, but this is a very powerful one. If you would have been in this situation where you didn't have the money and you had to build the business from scratch, you would not have made all those mistakes of spending lavishly on anything that came your way, saying, okay, let's do this also and this also. So your wise decisions should come every time and not when you are in scarcity of money or a short for that matter. So how do you take decisions today should define your future. So whatever is happening today, let's start to make decisions rationally. Why I'm doing what I'm doing? What is the purpose that it fulfills? What is the ROI that it gives me? Then we take a call, yes or no, and then we say, what's the payback? And we start working with them gradually on this. And it's been 18 months. They are now in fairly good position of not recovered the entire one, but they're now profitable. They're able to repay their debts and all of that. So that's another example of why people or businesses make losses.
Yeah. I see that a lot. I see the burning of cash unnecessarily. There's and when I ask people why, I get, well, it takes money to make money, right? And yes, sometimes it does. Uh, but I see when I work with founders and CEOs, I see myself, if anybody said to me, Daniela, what is it that you do? And I'm an executioner, right? In the positive sense. I take the ideas and the visions and I help people execute them. That sometimes requires me having some very hard conversations with people to bring them back down to earth a little bit, right? Because sometimes they have these visions of these unicorns flying through the air,
Yes.
and it's almost an impossibility, right? I have 25 years of experience working in a global enterprise where just because technology said you could do something, the fact that you work globally and you have government contracts, whatever, from a compliance perspective, you actually cannot do it, right? So it's getting people to understand what actually can be executed technologically and how that falls from a compliance standpoint. And then after you sort that all out, the dose of reality, right? Yes, we can do this, but you need to hire 50 more people to do that because of manual processes, or you need to do XYZ. How do we grow to that? So I have a lot of these hard conversations. Do you find similar kind of issues where it's a compliance technology, that old saying of the tail wagging the dog kind
Yeah.
of a thing? Um,
Yeah. We have that conversation a lot. A lot.
yeah. And how do you see AI playing into this? Because that's the other thing I see. I see a lot of people saying, well, we can get AI to do that, and I can save, I can not hire 5 more people and get AI to do that. And so yes, to some degree, and in some cases that is possible, but not in every case. So what are you seeing in the AI space right now?
So AI is an interesting space to be in. It has got immense possibilities. The space where I see AI contributing and contributing a lot is AI in the back office, AI in the supporting tasks, AI ensuring that some reports are made, some emails are drafted, and using it as a tool to give me analytics for you to take better decisions. That's the space where I see AI has got immense possibility. While the others, which is front office facing customers and clients, that's also is an opportunity. I see a lot of companies coming in with AI agents and all of that, bringing in saying you can have your sales force removed by AI agents and stuff, which is good product. But for long-term growth for business, I don't see AI as a success in there as much as it would have been back office. And the reason I say it is you make transactions with humans and not machines. You get sold on emotions. You get sold on value that the person is promising. You do not get sold on a script which is being read, or you don't get sold on a code analytics which is working at the background and then giving you a scripted answer to say, okay, with this question, this is my answer. You will not you will not form a long term relationship with that. And businesses today we may say that we have seen businesses having an age of on an average 5 to maybe 12 to 15 years. But historically, businesses have had age of over 30 years. The bank which I used to work for was 325 years old that time. The organization in India that we see are on an average 60 to 70 years old. The
Right.
lot of organization you see in the US and the UK also, they are good 40 plus years if they're carried on well. And all that is happening because relationship is being carried on. You do not transact for money. You transact for money because you trust someone. And that trust
Right.
will always lack.
Right. No, and that is a beautiful statement, right? It is, at the end of the day, it is all relationships and trust and looking somebody in the eye and having that feeling of trust and belief in a person to deliver. So I agree. I think that there's beautiful things that we can do with AI. I believe that, it is the industrial revolution of today, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Whoever thought the horse and buggy would be out of business and now we're driving cars, right? It's the industrial revolution of today.
Yeah.
And we will continue to progress, and who knows in 20 or 30 years what we're talking about in the industrial revolution of that era is. So what I'd love to to hear from you some words of wisdom to founders, CEOs, people in these medium-sized businesses that can encourage them to look inward and be a little bit introspective to help them decide, maybe I should be seeking for help, right? Not that it's okay to feel vulnerable, because essentially that's what you have to allow yourself to feel, right? You have to feel vulnerable to say, I've gotten to a point where I'm growing and that's great, but it's maybe either a steady or slow growth. And I'd like to accelerate, and I'd like to shake this business up, open up a new channel of revenue, whatever it is. I need to think bigger, and I need a partner to help me do that. What kind of advice do you give people to encourage them to think like that, right? From your experience, what
Yeah.
would you say to them?
So the first thing that we try and understand is the fears that they have, because a lot of their conversations are on the fears, and out of that fear they look at how is it that I can at a fast pace overcome that fear in terms of growing my business so that I don't lose out to competition, in terms of lowering my cost because I should not lose down on not having money in my bank account. So we try and understand fears of them. Once we understand the fears of them, then there's one common thing, and irrespective of who the business is, how big the business is, the only way to solve a problem is to look inwards. It is said, in is the only way out. If you don't look inwards, you'll not be having a way out to any problem, because the solutions lies there only. So when I say in, then I help them look at their business from a distance and look at each of the functions, each of the processes, what is causing them problem. Where is it that they want to go? What's the goal? What's that? Yeah, maybe they may have a long term goal of doing something 5 years down the line. They may have a short term goal of 1 year, 2 year down the line. Whatever is their goal and whatever is the situation now, we help them bridge that gap by looking inwards and defining what is stopping them do what they should do in order to reach their goal. Now, when you have that tough conversation with them, initially, obviously, there'll be resistance, but gradually, when you bring them into comfort, they will start to talk about what is it that's bothering, what is it that they feel they are lacking, and then we start to solve it through means which are more scientific, through means which are more driven towards a goal, not an emotional statements to have. Like, for example, I always tell this to my clients, and I call it a Pankaj Chawla mantra of success. It is said, if you want to, sorry, if you want to achieve it, you have to measure it. If you
Yes.
cannot measure it, you cannot achieve it.
Right.
So everything I bring to them is to measure, measure, and measure. Because
Yes.
you do not take decisions through the gut. If you take decision through the gut, then it will always, if not always, most of the times, it will not be an ROI driven decision. Because
Right.
that's what business is for. You will take care of the emotions, you'll take care of everything, but it has to be driven by a target, by a goal.
Right.
So in in terms of your question of words of wisdom, probably in is the only way out. Measure it, then achieve it. Then it is, if you want to take everyone together, then you have to have the goals of entire organization tied together to the vision of the company.
Yes.
These are the three things on which the foundation is laid, and then obviously you execute it relentlessly on day-to-day basis and get to deliver.
So I have a question for you on measurement, because I love that. I'm a data-driven thinker, right? So I combine data and human psychology when I look at organizations, because both of those things are extremely important, right? And I find that most organizations do one and not the other, or maybe neither, because they don't actually want to see, right? Um, so what are the most important measurements that you find, right? And do you find that they change over time, or these are the solid metrics you should be measuring for success? Right? So for our audience listening, if they're not measuring these metrics, they should start now. What are those important metrics that you believe in?
Yeah. So matrices are of two types. One which are fixed, non-negotiable. You have to measure it every time in your business. There are certain which will change over a period of time as your business grows. There will be certain which will get redundant, and there will be certain will continue. But the important measures that you should have in your business are, first of all, what is your leads pipeline? You have to measure that every time. For that, you have to understand what's your funnel.
Right.
So funnel gets you the pipeline, your pipeline gets you the customer. And the customer is your revenue. Right? If you were to look at a business, then it has got revenues, costs, and then profit. Related to that is cash flow. So for us to target the revenue, you have to look at the funnel and the pipeline, the conversion rate. What's the average value at which you charge your customers, the average selling price, average value of the service that you provide. That your number of customers multiplied your selling price is your revenue.
Right.
So this is an important chain to follow to ensure that you have a good top line. If you have a good top line, then you need to look at your cost side of it. Costs generally are of two types. One is called the variable cost, and second one is called the fixed cost. Fixed are your estate costs, your technology, etc., which are there to an extent fixed, to an extent semi-fixed. But that's your minimum amount of money that you need to earn so that you pay this cost. So you need to bifurcate your cost in that. Now, if you're secure to the extent of fixed cost, then a fair amount of problem gets solved. It's important to measure. On the variable cost, you'll have to figure out what is it that is adding value to my top line. Anything which is adding value to your top line is a relevant variable cost. Anything
Right.
which is not, you should just cut them off. So within this, you have to identify that. And with the variable costs in hand, which are relevant, not relevant, or important, not important, then you see how many times of the variable cost is your revenue. So if your variable cost is, let's say, 20, your revenue is 100, then it's 5 times. So that could be, depending on industry, that could be a good situation to have, that could be a bad situation to have. Then you say, okay, with the balance 80, I need to fund the fixed costs, I need to fund other costs and overheads and all of that. And then what comes to my pocket? So this cost is very important. If you're a manufacturing organization, then your cost will have a criteria of which is cost directly related to production, which is called cost of goods sold. That's a
Mm-hmm.
criteria you will get into the gross profit margin. to say of the $100 that I sell for, my direct cost of production is, let's say, 35, and I am at a gross profit of 65. So 65% of the gross profit ratio. And then I start to deduct the investments in your salaries, estate cost, depreciation, etc. So I get to the net profit, which is an important metric to say of the 100 I earn, do I have 25 in a, or maybe 5 for that? Then that gives you the financial parameters of how you're faring. But the story does not end here. The important parameter, and that's for small and medium businesses, is cash flow. You may have $100,000 worth business, but if that is not converting to cash, it is not adding any value because your payables are stacking up. You have to pay that. You need funding to pay that. And if let's say your receivables are getting paid in 120 days, 90 days, and your payables are in 30 days, 45 days, 15 days, depending on which business you are in, well, if you are in, then you are at a deficit.
Right.
About 75 to 100 days. For you to fund this, you will have to have some value in mind before you can fund this. Now, small and medium enterprises do not have this enough. And that is why the success rate of business starting is about 25 to 30%, because they do not focus on the cash flow. They do not
Yes.
learn when the money is coming in and it is going out. Even
Right.
if very late in the day for one to survive. And most of them who do, they do cash flow for the period that they are in. They do not do the forecasting for next 8 to 12 months, which is where they see the light of the day. It's like, okay, now I have got funds till 2 months down the line or 12 months down the line. So these are critical parameters for people to see, plan their business. If they can look at it, structurally and candidly, I think success rate of 25 odd percent in the business can go easily up to 65%. And we have done that by our experience in the last 5-4 years. The number of companies who've come to us, their success rate is much higher than the industry success rate. Just because we have been able to tell them what is relevant for your business, what you are doing, and how.
Right.
So
Right.
these are essential ones, and I can go on speaking about it for the entire day of what's
Yeah.
relevant, what's
Yeah.
variable, what is not. But that these are
No, I think that
many.
that's great insight. I really appreciate this. Has been a fantastic conversation. Um, I would love to understand from you in, just these last few minutes of closing, where do you see your business going, right? You came from corporate, your journey. I want to focus on you for a minute. You came from corporate, your journey, you decided there was this path, this need, and you have gotten into this. Where do you want, what is your vision for your space? How do you see your evolution?
Okay, that's an interesting one. So we look at solving for small and medium enterprises with an organization, primarily based out of India, but last about 8 odd months to 10 months, we have looked at problems which small and medium enterprises face internationally.
Mm.
5 geographies: US, UK, Canada, Australia, and UAE. To figure out what are the challenges that the small and medium enterprises in these geographies face. And to no surprise, the challenge was exactly same as we saw in India. Same problem of single person business, same problem of having to stitch the things together, ensuring nothing falls off the cracks. Today, if my receptionist hasn't come, I check on the reception. If someone in the back office is not there, I'll probably do that. If customer care executive is not there, I'll pick up the phone and answer the questions, etc., etc. So problems are entirely exactly the same. So what we did is we launched our services internationally now.
Oh, beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you. We are in the UK, we are in the US, we are in the UAE, we are in Canada, we are in Australia, serving people across. And that's the vision, to help maximum number of small medium enterprises across the globe. Geography does not matter to us. What matters to us is there is a small and medium enterprise and there is a problem to solve, and we can solve that problem
Yeah.
irrespective of they are located where we are located. That's vision, because again, it's a relationship which works. So if I can build trust in a person who's probably sitting 1,000 miles away from me through my services, and it can make a positive impact to his or her life, it's worth my effort.
Right. Right. That's awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I think that you are poised to do fantastic things. It has been my pleasure to chat with you today, and I look forward to following your journey. For anybody who is listening, please contact Pankaj through the website or the email address that will be in the description. And we look forward to chatting with you possibly again in the future. I'd love to welcome you back and dive into maybe a case study or something on some specific project that you're doing, especially as AI continues to evolve. I will be speaking and headlining a stage, the AI at Scale stage, in December at the AI Summit in New York City at Javits. So I'm very excited. So anybody who's listening that's there, come visit me there. But I'm very into the AI space and want to understand, you know, how it's impacting and how it's currently embedded and what strategic direction we can go in. As you said, what things can we measure, not just replacement of jobs, but what do those people go do, right? Presumably they could do bigger and better things within your company to help you grow. So congratulations on going international and doing everything that you're doing. It's been my pleasure to have you as a guest. Do you have any closing words for our audience?
Yes. So thank you, Daniela, for having me here. It was amazing to have a conversation with you. And I kind of related to your thoughts, what you told about how you work with this. And I think I've got a strong human connection with you of the way you look at businesses, the way I look at businesses. And there are a lot of synergies for you and us and your audiences as well. Because as
Yeah.
that we are global, so we can help any geographies. So anyone who's listening this, watching this, if there is anything that both of us can help you on, we'll be happy to help you. So yeah,
Yes.
look forward to working with all of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Working together is the way to succeed. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining us today at the Give Back Lab. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining us today in the Give Back Lab. If today's conversation moved you, challenged you, or made you just feel seen, share it forward. That's how change begins. Until next time, keep showing up, keep speaking truth, and giving back in your own way. The lab is always open.